Married at First Sight, Season 18, Episode 2367, Decision Day. Ciao, we have been on the Season 18 bus since October 15th of 2024. Decision Day is finally here, and some of these cast members couldn't hold it in. They were cutting up. Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is Tamara Lynette Tells. So the episode starts at the last few days before Decision Day. Now, that's the last few days before Decision Day, not the end of the season. They have 5 more episodes. This season will end with Where Are They Now on March 25th. Yeah, they're dragging it out again. All right, so let's get into it. At this point, we only have 2 remaining couples who will have a real decision day. Karla and Juancho and Camille and Thomas. So these 2 couples have to pretend like they don't know what they're going to say, yes or no, for a few more days until they hit the decision day couch. So Juancho talked to his parents to get some final advice on what to do, even though he's probably talked to them 100 times over the last few weeks. His daddy said, your brain knows what to do. Go with that. Meanwhile, Karla talked to her friends for some advice that she didn't need, because if Juancho isn't feeling it, her saying yes on decision day is still a no for the relationship moving forward. They sprinkled in a few conversations between these 2 about their relationship. Juancho let it be known he's not a fan of her spiritual practices. I feel like this is something the experts should have taken into account. They tend to ignore religious and political differences. But then again, we don't know what Juancho told them. For all we know, he could have said he's open when it comes to religion. But then again, nobody would expect an old lady in a slip with no panties to show up on their living room floor teaching them tantric yoga either. I know that has absolutely nothing to do with Karla or what they're going to say on decision day. I'm just saying. So while they were preparing for decision day, during his voiceover, Juancho mentioned Karla made him feel insecure about their financial future. Then they showed the clip of her saying she quit her job. Child, Juancho was not about that life. You and your storage items are not moving in here without paying 50%, honey. So when they sat down with the experts for decision day, they were basically talking about how Juancho couldn't get romantical feelings for Karla. Now, Karla said this is the healthiest relationship she's ever been in. I think Karla would have jumped deep into this relationship if Juancho hadn't shoved her in the friend zone, the sidekick situation, the pal pit, whatever you want to call it. So Juancho mentioned that he goes to the gym every day, then looked at Karla like, you don't work out. And Pastor Cal said, what do you mean? She's a Pilates instructor. And Juancho was like, yeah, I went to a class. Maybe I need to check out another one. Obviously, he didn't think Pilates counts as going to the gym. Child, Pilates is hard. It sure counts as a workout in my book. Anyway, Karla said, you would come to me at 6 a.m. in the morning asking if I want to go to the gym. If this is something you want to share with your partner, then you should check in to see what their schedule is like. 6 a.m.? Juancho, if you wake me up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you better have a winning lottery ticket in your hand that's going to change my life. Otherwise, I'll see you at 10. Juancho also brought up her spirituality. It's just too much for him. Now, when it came time to say whether Karla wanted to stay married or get a divorce, she said, I want a divorce for the simple fact that we're not truly compatible. When it was Juancho's turn, he said he hopes that they will be in each other's lives for long term as friends, but he wants a divorce. So after they gave their answers, Karla told the experts, I feel like my person wouldn't be able to say goodbye to me because of my athleticism or spirituality. Then she rolled her shoulders back and said, I love love, and I'm just going to keep on rolling through life. And to the confessional cam, Karla said, ciao, ciao, Juancho. Ciao. Karla is my shiro. I think she's a true friend and will not say anything behind your back that she wouldn't say to your face. Meanwhile, people like to say Juancho didn't try in this relationship. However, I don't believe Karla is his person. No shade towards Karla at all, or to the experts for that matter. They got along well, but Juancho didn't feel romantical chemistry with Karla. I've met and dated men who were great, but they felt like my coworker or family friend, not my lover. It happens. It's not uncommon. I think Wancho needs someone who plans on having a long career, be a working mom, loves going to the gym, and also sings off key. Madison and Allen, they met up with the experts. I wish Allen would have said no thank you to having this conversation so as not to allow Madison the opportunity to give excuses. Anyway, Allen arrived before Madison, and Pastor Cal apologized to Allen for matching him with Madison. He said they were wrong about her. It actually felt like a genuine apology from what I could recall. The first time the experts apologized for one of their many bad matches. Allen was gracious, and he said he can see why they matched him with her. So Madison came rolling in and she apologized for hurting Allen. She said she should have been more honest in the beginning with her feelings, and she appreciates the effort that he put in. Miss Thing's always giving him praises for his effort. When she says that, to me, it feels like, good boy, nice effort. Yes, it was. It sure was. You, boo. Child, nobody want to hear all that. He was like, why did you have me go through all the dates with you when you already made your mind up that you were going to be with David? Allen, why even ask that question? She's going to lie and try to save face. And sure enough, she claimed she hadn't made up her mind and everything that they experienced together was real. Okay, hadn't made up your mind, but he didn't know there was a mind to be made up in that way. You didn't tell him there was a third person in your marriage, boo-boo. Or maybe I should call you Tiffany. According to David's lie, his text was meant for Tiffany. Then she got defensive. You can believe me or you don't. That's the truth. She and David have the same attitude. I sent that sexualized text to my cousin over food pics she sent me. You can believe me or you don't. That's the truth. But Allen said, your relationship with David has gone on for weeks. I think what you did is repulsive, and I thought more highly of you. I didn't think you would be the type of woman to do that. Well, I came here to apologize to you, and I've done that. Well, girl, we came here to watch Allen tell you off, and he hasn't done that. She told the experts, I don't really see the point of this because it doesn't sound like anything I say is going to change his opinion of me, which sucks. Pastor Cal said, closure? You're here for closure. And with the most nonchalant, matter-of-fact tone, Allen said, I don't need closure. Getting over Madison was easy. It was like hitting the switch. Shots fired! Beep, 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 beep. There it is. That's what we came here for. Get her, Allen. Then the experts asked Allen how he felt about David. He said, David is dirt to me. Run tell that, Tiffany. Go tell your boyfriend that your husband thinks he's dirt. She said, it is what it is. I'm just going to move forward. No, it is what you made it, and you made a mess. Now, Pastor Cal asked if moving forward means moving forward with David, and she claims that she just wants to heal first and possibly move on with David. Still lying. Might as well speak your truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So Pastor Cal asked Madison if there's anything else she wanted to say, and she shook her head no. Allen had something to say. He said, there's no part of me that wants to be married to this woman. I know that's right. I bet he'll file for an annulment. So during this entire scene, Allen did not look at Madison once, as if to say he's so disgusted he can't even look at her. So to the confessional cam, Madison was all upset, but was trying to pretend like she wasn't. I thought I could come into this and have a face-to-face conversation, but apparently I'm not worth him looking at me in my face. I came into this to be married, but I do have feelings for David, so it's time to move forward. It is what it is. What I don't like about your attitude is that you hurt your husband, but can't handle the consequences. You don't want to be confronted. You want everyone involved to approach you with the respect you didn't show Allen. You literally made your own bed. It's time to put on your big girl granny panties and take the hit. To the confessional cam, Allen said it feels good to know his divorce is official, and he's going to continue looking for someone who's genuine and capable of true love. Okay, it's not technically official, but I hear you. And at least he knows where he stands with Madison, so he can move on. I believe they both could use some counseling. Madison for how she was able to justify her lies, knowing she would hurt Allen. And for Allen for knowing all along Madison wasn't into him, but he continued to go above and beyond, spending $3,000 on clothes, taking her out on dates, getting Invisalign to please her while ignoring the ocean of red flags she was throwing at his forehead, like coming home after 1:30 in the morning 3 times a week, not wanting to touch him, not having anything nice to say about him other than he gives good effort. This isn't his first rodeo with getting cheated on. He needs to raise his standards to getting hurt in this way ever again. Nancy Drew and David. I call Michelle Nancy Drew because of the expert detective she turned into after receiving David's text. So they met up with the experts, and Nancy got there first, and the experts asked how she's doing and how involved she thinks David and Madison have been. I don't know, but to send that kind of text, they had to be more involved than what he's admitted to. So David comes waltzing in dressed like he's about to sling mixed tapes at the Crenshaw swap meet. Madison gave Allen the business about his wardrobe. I wonder if she said anything to David about his, because he doesn't have the metrosexual vibe she claims to be attracted to either. So the experts were like, who wants to go first? And David said, I'll start. I want to apologize. I had no intention of hurting you whatsoever. I did catch feelings for Madison. Nancy was rolling her eyes all over her head to the point where I was getting seasick. Meanwhile, they turned the camera to Pastor Cal, and his eyes were all up in his forehead too. Nobody was buying David's apology. Both Pastor Cal and Dr. Pia called him out for not sounding genuine. Of course, he got defensive. Either you believe me or you don't. So Dr. Pia said, you sound defensive. I'm not getting defensive. I'm checked out. Meanwhile, Pastor Cal is still trying to be a therapist when all David wants to do in this moment is run off with Tiffany. So Pastor Cal asked how he thinks being checked out will help him in any relationship moving forward. And David said, I hope my partner would help me out with that. In other words, when he checks out with Tiffany, she checks him back in, apparently. So Dr. Pia was not having it. She was mad that he didn't seem to be genuine in his apology and seemed to think it's the responsibility of his partner to be checked into the relationship. And at what point do you take responsibility for your actions? I am taking responsibility. I'm apologizing in a minute that I farfanoogled up. He asked Nancy if she cared about him, and she said she does care, otherwise she wouldn't be so upset. I don't know that you're upset because you cared so much about him more than the feeling you got played in a situationship you didn't want to be in the first place. So Nancy asked David if he cared about her, and he said, as a matter of fact, I don't. Damn! She said, then why string this along? Why not just tell me that you have feelings for Madison? I didn't think you care. Pastor Cal was getting on David about saying Nancy didn't care because she was being honest about struggling in the marriage and that she was trying to work through her struggles. I'm sorry, but being honest doesn't excuse her being snippy with David. Why are you asking me about my family? Does your mom do your laundry? I don't want to be with a mama's boy. This doesn't excuse his behavior either, but I still can't glaze over her rudeness. So David threw his head back in frustration. At this point, the conversation was useless. He made his choice with Madison, and they were just poking at him to try to make him feel bad. So Dr. Pia said, are you okay? David didn't say anything. He just took his ring off and placed it on the table like he was making some kind of statement. Pastor Cal was just like shaking his head like that's just an exercise. This marriage has been over. But Dr. Pia wasn't over. She asked David, are you saying since you felt like she didn't care, it was a free-for-all for you to do whatever? I don't know. At some point during this conversation, Dr. Pia told him she lost all respect for him. How come you didn't say that to Madison? She led Allen on. David was in the trenches getting dirt kicked on him all season. At least Nancy wasn't falling for David. So Pastor Cal asked if they had anything else to say, and David shook his head, and Nancy said, I want a divorce. And Pastor Cal looked at David and said, I assume you want one too. And David said, yes. So to the confessional cam, David said he was glad that it's over. And if he had to do it all over again, he said it's a learning lesson and it's time to move on. When Nancy went to the confessional cam, she was bitter, realizing that David was trying to protect Madison the whole time. And she said his disco stick was probably getting hard with her at the gym. At least I can move on now and know it wasn't my fault. And I think he's honestly garbage. I think her statement about being able to move on, knowing it's not her fault, is all Nancy Drew was trying to prove. I don't believe she cares if David is with someone else. I think she's pissed off about the situation, how he and Madison went about it. But she wasn't checking for David. It literally took her weeks to get to the point of returning his text messages. Like Madison, David did not know how to handle being confronted for his actions. I think he's bitter and tired of taping this show. The past couple of videos in my comments, some of you believe this is the real David that Nancy saw all along, which is why she behaved the way she did. But I don't believe that's true. As annoyed as she was with his immaturity and living with his parents, she gave him credit for being a nice guy and being very thoughtful towards her. She told that to the experts, to her friends, to the other wives, and to David. She didn't have complaints about his personality other than him being immature. I believe she was being a different version of herself in the beginning than she was in the end. And David was being a different version of himself in the end than what we saw in the beginning. Now run that statement through ChatGPT to make it make sense. Camille and Thomas, they went to dinner and they talked about their living situation and where they would live. Thomas seems stumped on what to do. He said ideally she would live with him, but his place can't accommodate the two of them. And he said he knows that Pastor Kyle suggested that they live together so that they don't lose their momentum, but it's not that black and white. They might have to live apart. So Camille was saying it would make her feel more comfortable saying yes on decision day if he was looking in the future and making plans for them. He's saying he's not sure what her answer will be on decision day, so it's kind of hard to plan for the future. He brought up her lack of vulnerability and that he's gone out of his way to be vulnerable for her, but she hasn't reciprocated. It feels like Camille has a couple walls up, like something is holding her back from being vulnerable. To the confessional cam, she said he doesn't understand that her vulnerability is connected to him not being direct about their future. His vagueness towards their future is making her feel like he's not strongly choosing her, and it's not giving her the confidence she needs to say yes on decision day. Between the two of them, can't they call their landlord and ask if they have a larger apartment coming available, then move in together in the larger space? Some landlords even own multiple complexes and will allow their tenants to move between them without penalty. Like, have they tried to get the information? I know Camille wants Thomas to figure all this out, but Camille, don't you want to say where you're going to live? If you need him to make decisions, let him pick the moving company or the type of boxes you'll use to pack, but participate in what neighborhood you're going to live in, girl. In any case, I don't want to get too caught up in their rapture because I feel like the producers have been making their little problems seem bigger than what they are, so they won't be boring. My intuition tells me this isn't as big a deal as they're making it out to be, or it's a non-issue altogether. I'm not worried about them. They'll be all right. So they went in front of the judges, experts, for their decision day. And Thomas was cute. He got down on one knee with a basketball in his hand that said, "Let's stay married." Of course, that was a reference to her basketball playing days. Then it was her turn. She started rambling and saying, "Sorry, but I cannot, I just can't, I just don't, I don't know." Then they cut to a commercial, of course. And then they come back and she's still stammering over her words. I just can't do it. I cannot, I just can't see a world without you in it. Yeah, that was her big joke. I think she missed a nice moment for her to be soft and vulnerable. He's been showering her with compliments all season. Give a brother some praise sprinkles, girl. But at the confessional cam, they were all giggles. He was saying he wasn't expecting humor to be inserted into his day. Me either, child. So Camille said, "Sorry, you just have to get used to a future with the different sides of Camille." Okay. Then he said, "I love you." And she said, "I love you too, hubby." See, while producers were making it seem like Camille wasn't feeling him all the way, they were actually falling in love, and we missed it. Where's their love story? I feel robbed. Why didn't they show that? So Madison and David, they are the only ones who seem super happy together. They came across as being happier than Camille and Thomas even. They went on a golf date and they were seriously crushing on each other. So giddy. They said they've been talking about going on a golf date for a long time. Really? How long? Like since the honeymoon? All I could think about is how great the situation would be if they had been matched from the beginning. I know it wouldn't have happened because Madison didn't describe a man like David at all, but it wouldn't be the first time they ignored what a cast person wanted. Let's be real. So they were gushing all over each other like lovers who have long makeout sessions and have played hide the corn on the cob many times, if you know what I mean. Oh, wink, wink. So they hit a couple of balls and David said that he was nervous and Madison asked why. He was like, "My feelings for you are strong, but I'm not trying to overwhelm you with everything that's going on right now. There's a lot going on, but I'm still rocking with you." She said her feelings for him are strong too. They're in love, and I think he's nervous to show it in front of the producers because they probably lied to them too. At the end of the day, I'm not mad at them finding love. Of course, they handled it wrong. Alan and Nancy will be all right. So after decision day, they had all the couples meet up. Now, I think they could have skipped this little tradition this season after all of the tomfoolery that went down. It was too soon. Just kidding. I'm here for it. Let the games begin. I was watching to see how everyone was going to greet each other and who would snub who. After Emem spanked Chi-Chi's naked butt with her letter, I was surprised to see them greet each other with a hug. Madison and David came in together. I thought that was a bold move, possibly instigated by producers. Madison hugged everybody except for Nancy and Alan. But Alan looked over at Madison and said, "Hi, Mads." But he said it like the nerdy kid trying to talk to a cheerleader, like he left his confidence in his book locker. I would have preferred for him to keep his strong, "I'm not trying to look at your face" demeanor like he had earlier. So Madison said, "Hi," and then kept it pushing. I felt like he gave her the upper hand by doing that, trying to talk to her now. Meanwhile, David came in trying to act like nothing happened and went for the handshake with Alan. And Alan said, "I'm not going to shake your hand." See, where was that energy with Madison 10 seconds ago? So Nancy said to confessional cam, "I'm more pissed off than I thought I would be seeing them come in together. It's cute that they came in matching outfits. That's good for them, but it's annoying." Now as for Madison's over-the-top makeup, the word on the street is she was headed to a Halloween party afterwards. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what someone who is claiming to be her friend said. So they started with the announcements that Camille and Thomas said yes on decision day, and Karla and Juancho said no, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Karla's top was wide open. This was a recipe for a wardrobe malfunction. They had to blur out her little booby pop. So they continued around the circle to let everyone speak their speak. Emem said something like, "I came into this vulnerable and ready to be married, but my efforts were not valued. My efforts were not matched. I was not appreciated, inundated, or emancipated by the circumstance of the hypocrisy that Sasquatched my marriage. And that's how we ended up here." Okay, that's not exactly what she said, but that's what I heard. Chi-Chi perked up a little bit while Emem was talking. And by perked up, I mean he showed signs of life opposed to sitting there stoic with a big frown on his face like he usually has. So he said, "I didn't want to be around someone who made me feel like Shaboodle every day." Then he looked at the group. "The reason I wasn't around to get to know you guys, it's because I didn't want to be around to be made to feel small and less than." Chi-Chi definitely looks like the odd man out in the group, like the person everyone knows the least. And it doesn't appear as though he's well liked. So Emem told him that he needs to take accountability for showing up to the couples retreat with that divorce paper to embarrass her. Now, Emem, she's got some facial expressions. She has a very expressive face. You need to own that. You need to take accountability for that. You are a grown man. You're 42 years old, and you need to learn how to take accountability. So Chi-Chi said something, and then Emem said, "Can I finish? Can I finish? I'm not done." "No, I'm tired of hearing you talk. I don't want to hear you talk." Karla said, "This is an instance where someone's energy triggers you. You're not bad. You're not bad." Then she turned to Emem. "You're not bad. You're amazing." Then she looked at Chi-Chi. "I don't really know you, but maybe you're amazing. But it just needs to end." So to the confessional cam, Emem said Chi-Chi has no soul. He has no empathy. He has no feelings towards anyone but himself. "It hurts to be treated the way he treated me. All my life I had to fight." Oops, wrong notes. "All I did was try to understand him. He's not a person. He's a monster." So she walked off in a huff. Then Camille and Madison went after her. I think Madison went because she was just trying to flee the scene in general because her time to share was coming up. Emem was telling the ladies, "He berated me and verbally attacked me over and over again, and I'm just supposed to take it. It's hard." I understand why Emem feels this way, but I just don't understand why it took her so long to feel this way. It was just a week and some change ago that she wanted to go work on the marriage, and then she hung out with him and played video games. It feels like she's the type who will give a man 67 chances, but on incident 68, she's done and it's a wrap. Meanwhile, Juancho was asking David what he's been up to. Now, David could have said working, working out, shopping, playing video games, catching up on sleep, hanging out, playing with different ponytail positions. There were a million different ways he could have answered that question. But instead, he said, I've been pursuing Madison. No chitlins, Sherlock. Thanks for making an awkward situation weird. So he went on to say something like, speaking of that, Alan, I'm sorry about how things went down. It wasn't intentional. And Alan interrupted him. I thought I was going to walk out of here with a friend, but it didn't work out that way. As for the unintentional, I'm not acknowledging that part. You had plenty of opportunity, to be honest. At some point, Juancho was playing expert and gave them props on how they were handling their situation, which apparently made David feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So he reached over to bro it up with Alan and shake his hand, but Alan said, nope, I still don't want to shake your hand. David, read the room. Alan is not going to congratulate you for finding a girlfriend that you picked from this show. So Thomas said that good friends hold each other accountable, so I want to hold David accountable for his actions. How did things start with you and Madison? And David said it started in the gym with them talking about their marriages and Madison asking him questions and showing concern. And that's what he was looking for. So while Nancy was over at the bar making herself a drink, Madison started talking about how everyone knew that David and Nancy were not going to make it, that Nancy wasn't interested in him. And Nancy said, are you talking about my feelings? Do you want to wait till I come over there? And Madison was like, sure. Come sit down. I'll tell you about your feelings. So Nancy finished pouring her drink first, but she was pissed. So Madison was like, do you want to do this now, babe? Real talk, if Nancy Drew and Madison got in a physical fight, who do you think would win? I think they would both get bruised and scratched up, but I think Nancy would inch out a win because she's a little more shrewd, more resourceful, and a little more scrappy. Anyway, I do believe Nancy Drew is pissed, but I think she's playing up the victim role, putting a lot extra on it to take the spotlight off of how everyone was blaming her for the downfall of their marriage due to the way she treated David in the beginning. But I don't know where Madison's boldness is coming from all of a sudden. She's been running and ducking from confrontation up until now. Based on the previews, it looks like it's going to get heated. I can't wait to see what these ladies have to say to each other now that they're going to be thrown in the ring together. Place your bets. Who do you think will win, Madison or Nancy? As for the conclusion of the marriages, well, I'm happy we got at least one yes this season. Or I guess 1.5 if you want to count David and Madison, even though we didn't get to see them or Camille and Thomas fall in love. But anyway, in the meantime, that's all I have for now. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next video.